5 reasons you're burning off fewer calories than you think. What's up guys, Sean here from Breakthrough Bootcamp, and today's video we are covering the reasons why you're probably not burning off as many calories as you think you are. It's a well-known fact in the fitness industry that most of us underreport our calorie intake and overreport the amount of calories we burn off. So today we're going to focus on the latter part of that equation. So let's get right into it. Honorable mention before we get into the list is workout intensity. This is an obvious one. If you're not working out with intensity, you're gonna burn fewer calories. So you can't compare yourself to someone who is working out with intensity. In a group setting, even though it might be the same workout, it is not the same experience for someone who is working out with a relatively low intensity versus someone who is working out at a high intensity. The person who's working out with that higher intensity is going to burn more calories. So let's get into the list here. Number 5 is your workouts are never changing up at all. Especially if you are doing the same movement over and over and over again. If you are only running, elliptical, Peloton, whatever it is, if you're doing that same movement over and over and over again, eventually you're gonna burn off fewer calories, because what happens is, as you get better at that movement, your body also gets better at preserving energy and it becomes more efficient. So you get better at that exercise, but you actually burn off fewer calories as a result. So the solution there is to switch things up, do different movements, different exercises. The more of a beginner you are at something, the more calories you're going to burn. So if you're doing the same movement over and over and over again, chances are after a certain amount of time, you're gonna burn fewer calories as a result. Number 4, not training to build muscle. Strength training is such an important one. This is more of a long-term thing because the more lean muscle you have, the more calories it takes to actually feed that muscle, so the more calories you're burning off as a result. Muscle is what we call metabolically active. So you should incorporate strength training into your workouts. If you are only doing cardio, even if you're eating healthy and doing all the correct things, the person who does strength training doesn't necessarily burn more calories at the time of the workout, but by building that muscle, they are inherently burning off more calories. You don't have to become a bodybuilder, you don't have to put a ton of muscle on, but train for strength, increase your protein, and try to build some lean muscle because it does make a difference. The more lean muscle you have, the more calories you burn. Number 3 is a fancy word called metabolic adaptation. You don't have to know what that word means, but you have to know the general idea of it. This one's a really fascinating one. So as we lose weight, our body actually burns off more calories. It makes sense. A smaller body requires fewer calories. So metabolic adaptation is the disproportionate drop in our metabolism and the amount of calories that we burn off in a day with response to a calorie deficit, a fat burn. So the more aggressively we lose weight, the more aggressive this metabolic adaptation means. Now there's a bunch of different ways metabolic adaptation can kind of show itself, but one of the more common ones is something that you might not be aware of that almost seems unbelievable, and it's the fact that we tend to move less as we are in a very big calorie deficit, and our body does this as a survival instinct. So you might not realize this. Using a tracker might help with your steps. But if you're in a metabolic adaptation, your body's gonna find ways to not only take fewer steps, even if you force yourself to get fewer steps, your body's gonna find ways to move less fidgeting, less moving around in general. It's gonna conserve energy because it sees it as a survival threat. So as you lose weight, your metabolism slows down, which is normal. Metabolic adaptation is the disproportionate slowdown of your metabolism as a result, and the mechanisms that come with it. So unconsciously, you move less to burn fewer calories as you diet aggressively. So the key is always slow, sustainable weight loss to prevent this metabolic adaptation from really getting you good here. Number 2 is if you go buy your Fitbit or your cardio machines to rely on your calories burned. These things are notoriously inaccurate, so do not go by those numbers. They are based off an algorithm. The intensity, the amount of time that you're doing something, your age, very vague inputs that you're using. It might apply to one person, but it definitely does not apply to each of our unique metabolisms and complex body processes. So if you are using your Fitbit or your cardio machine to gauge the amount of calories you burn, you are going to be disappointed when you realize that most people burn far fewer calories than those devices suggest. So just don't use those at all as an indicator for how many calories you're burning off. And then number 1, by far the most common reason is NEAT. Again, you don't have to know what this means. Non-exercise, activity, thermogenesis. Basically, that just means the amount of calories you're burning off from activities outside of exercise. So the amount that you're moving day to day. And one of the best ways to track this is the Fitbit or any sort of activity tracker, because it's going to track your steps. The more active you are outside of your workouts, the more calories you're going to burn. So common mistake people make is if you have a very sedentary job, sitting down all day, and you get your 45-minute, 1-hour workout, you consider that an active day, but your NEAT, the amount of calories you're burning off outside of exercise, is actually very, very low. So the person who is very active with their job, even if they don't work out, is going to end up burning off, more likely, more calories than you, because they are moving throughout the day rather than it's just a 1-hour period. So the best way to increase your NEAT is to go for daily walks. Daily walks, not only good for your physical health, but your mental health. One of the easiest things that you can do to burn calories without putting strain on your body. And it is a game changer. Such a simple thing, just to get more movement day to day outside of your workouts without putting a strain on your nervous system. So increasing your NEAT is going to be the number one way that you can burn off more calories, but it's also the number one reason why you're burning off fewer calories than you think, because too many people think their 45-minute workout offsets 8 hours, 10 hours of sitting, which it doesn't. So let me know any reasons you might think you're burning off fewer calories than you actually are. Any questions, concerns, or ideas for future videos, always welcome. I'll see you guys next week.